The space station was old, rusty, and full of broken machines. The human mechanic lived alone there. He was not rich. He wore the same oily jumpsuit every day and fixed old ships just to earn a few credits for food and fuel. People came to him. Only when no one else could repair their junk, he didn't complain. He was used to being ignored. His parents were gone. He had no family, no close friends, and no dreams left. One quiet evening, as he sat fixing a busted engine core, a loud beep-beep came from his old dusty screen. A message had arrived. He wiped the screen with his sleeve and pressed a button. A robotic voice played. Message from Galactic Inheritance Office. You are listed as the final contact of Explorer. Roland Vex. He has passed away and left you his last possession. The mechanic blinked. Roland Vex fixed his ship. Once. Why me? Before he could understand what was happening, another message came. Delivery arriving in 12 hours. Prepare to receive subject AZ-7. He didn't sleep that night. He tried searching who or what subject AZ-7 was, but the data was locked, classified or erased. Exactly 12 hours later, a giant ship hovered above his station. 2 armored aliens unloaded a large silver container. It hummed softly. They placed it in the center of his workshop and gave him a tablet. Sign here. It's yours now. The container hissed open slowly. The mechanic stepped back. Out came a tall, pale creature. It had thick white scales, long sharp claws, and glowing red eyes. Its wings were folded tightly, and its tail dragged across the floor. It looked like a dragon, but not one from Earth's fairy tales. It's one looked like. It came from a dark and ancient world. A thick black collar glowed around its neck. Strange symbols floated around it like tiny fireflies. The mechanic's voice shook. This is a mistake. I can't keep this thing. But the aliens ignored him. They climbed back into their ship and flew off. Now he was alone with a grumpy alien dragon staring at him. The dragon growled low, not loud, just enough to show it wasn't happy. It turned away and curled up in a dark corner of the workshop. It didn't move again. The mechanic didn't know what to do. He had no food for a creature like this. He didn't even know if it ate food. Days passed. The dragon didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't speak. It just watched the stars through a small window, breathing slowly, as if waiting for something or someone. The mechanic, out of guilt or loneliness, started talking to it. I know what it feels like, he said one night while eating cold soup, to be forgotten. The dragon's ear twitched. That was the first time it reacted to his voice. The next morning, the mechanic found a small hidden slot inside the delivery container. Inside it was a dusty old device. He pressed play. It was a message from Roland Vex. If you're seeing this, I'm gone. The creature before you is called a Z-7, last of his kind. Powerful, dangerous, stubborn. But listen closely. He holds the key to something much bigger than any of us. That was all. The message ended. The mechanic looked at the sleeping dragon. What key? He whispered. And why me? The dragon opened one red eye and stared at him just for a moment. And in that moment, the mechanic felt something strange. Like this creature was more than just a beast. It was a secret. A story waiting to be unlocked. Days passed slowly after. The dragon arrived. The space station felt even quieter than before. The mechanic tried to go back to his normal routine, fixing broken ships, welding metal, cleaning oil, but something had changed. The albino dragon, OS-27, stayed in the same corner every day. It didn't growl or attack. It just sat there with half-closed red eyes, like it had given up on everything. The mechanic left food nearby, some cooked protein packs and water. The dragon never touched them. The mechanic began to worry. Maybe it's dying, he whispered to himself. Or maybe it's waiting. He didn't know why, but each day he found himself talking more and more to the dragon. I used to dream about flying ships, he said one evening. Now I just fix other people's garbage. The dragon didn't respond, but one of its long ears moved slightly. The next day, something strange happened. The mechanic came in and found the water bowl empty. The food was gone too. He stopped walking and stared at the dragon. "You ate." The dragon looked up at him but said nothing. Later, the mechanic sat beside it, not too close, but near enough to talk. "You're not just a monster, are you?" The dragon let out a soft, rumbling sound. Not a growl, not a roar. Just a sound, like a breath that carried memories. That night, the mechanic couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling of his tiny room, thinking about the message from Roland. "He holds the key to something much bigger than us." "What key?" The mechanic whispered again. The next morning, he cleaned around the dragon's corner. While sweeping, he noticed the dragon's collar glowing faintly. He had never dared touch it before, but now his hand moved on its own. He slowly reached out. The dragon growled low, but didn't stop him. As soon as his fingers touched the collar, a soft click was heard. A blue light flashed, then a hologram appeared above the collar, floating symbols, spinning stars, and a blinking dot on a space map. The mechanic's eyes widened. "What is this?" He pulled out his old tablet and recorded the map. He scanned it and compared it to known star charts. The location was far away beyond the galaxy's normal travel paths. A dead zone, a place called Sector Black Hollow. No one went there. It was full of silence and strange signals. Rumors said ships vanished there. The dragon slowly stood and walked to the window. It looked out, eyes fixed on the stars. The mechanic stepped beside it. "That's where you want to go, isn't it?" The dragon didn't answer, but its tail slowly tapped the ground. Once, twice, like a signal. Suddenly, the station lights flickered. The mechanic ran to check his control panel. A warning flashed on the screen. "Incoming ship, unregistered, fast approach." He looked back at the dragon. For the first time, it stood tall, wings half open, red eyes glowing with fire. The mechanic's heart pounded. "Are they here for you?" asked. The dragon didn't move. The mechanic grabbed his tool belt and walked to his old ship parked outside. The station, he hadn't flown it in years. It was slow, dirty, and missing a few panels, but it still worked. He turned to the dragon. "If you want to go there, I'll take you. But you better not eat me halfway." The dragon walked forward, slowly, gracefully, and without warning. It climbed into the ship. The mechanic blinked. "Okay then," he said, climbing into the pilot's seat. "Let's find out what you're hiding." Behind them, the warning. Sirens started to scream louder, but they were already flying. The old ship shook as it lifted off the station. The mechanic struggled with the controls. The engine coughed like a sick dog, but it worked barely. Behind them, the radar beeped wildly. A strange black ship had entered the station's airspace. Its design was sleek and deadly, nothing like cargo ships or trading vessels. It was a hunter's ship. "They're after you, aren't they?" the mechanic muttered, glancing at the albino dragon sitting quietly behind him. The dragon didn't reply. Its red eyes watched the radar screen calmly as if it had seen this kind of trouble many times before. The mechanic pushed the ship faster. "Hold on." Outside, laser beams shot past their ship, glowing red lines of fire slicing through the empty dark. The old ship groaned under the pressure. One blast hit the side wing, but the dragon suddenly moved. With a roar, it climbed out through the emergency hatch and leaped into space. "What are you doing?" the mechanic shouted, watching through the side camera. But the dragon wasn't running away. It flew toward the hunter's ship in the vacuum of space. Its white body looked like a ghost. Its wings spread wide. Then, from deep inside, its chest glowed, and it released a burning white beam of energy that cut through the enemy ship's side like paper. The hunter ship spun out of control. The dragon returned to the mechanic's ship and entered through the side hatch again, breathing heavily but unharmed. The mechanic stared at it. You saved us." The dragon only let out a low growl, then sat back down. They escaped the sector and flew into deep space, heading toward the coordinates from the hologram. As they traveled, the mechanic finally had time to think. He remembered the message from Roland. "AZ7 is powerful. He holds the key." He looked at the dragon. "What are you, really?" A weapon? A guardian? Or something else? The dragon's eyes looked tired, full of memories. It didn't answer, but its tail slowly tapped the floor, a rhythm that almost... It sounded like music. Later, the mechanic checked the ship's logs. He found an old news report stored in a forgotten file. Last of the archaeal beasts escapes containment. The image showed a Z7, younger and injured, breaking free from a lab surrounded by armed aliens. The report called the creature dangerous, uncontrollable, and impossible to study. The mechanic frowned. They tried to control. You. He looked at the dragon again, but now he saw more than claws and teeth. He saw pain, loneliness, and deep intelligence. At the edge of sleep, he had a strange dream. In the dream, the dragon spoke not with words, but with thoughts. You are the first to not fear me. That is why I chose you. Mechanic woke up. Sweating, he looked around. The dragon was awake, staring at him. Did you just talk to me? The dragon blinked once, then looked out the window. The next few days were quiet, passed through silent zones and asteroid fields. They even stopped once on a small moon to fix the ship's broken engine. There, while the mechanic worked, the dragon wandered off to a nearby cliff. It stood still for hours, looking up at the sky, like it remembered something. The mechanic joined it. What's in that place we're going? He asked. What's in Sector Black Hollow? The dragon finally turned to him. A soft image appeared in the air projected from the dragon's collar. It showed a large golden gate floating in space, hidden between dying stars. The dragon's voice whispered inside his head. The key is not just a thing. It's a choice, a test, but you're a part of it now. The mechanic's heart raced. He realized he wasn't just delivering the Askragan. He was becoming part of a forgotten history, a mission that could change everything. The stars outside the ship became fewer. Space turned darker and colder as they entered the edge of the galaxy. The old map from the dragon's collar had guided them here towards a place called Sector Black Hollow. This area was marked on maps as dead, empty, and dangerous. The mechanic looked out the window. No planets. No lights. Just black space, he whispered. But the dragon stood still, its eyes glowing brighter than ever. It walked to the front of the ship and raised its head. The collar around its neck started to glow again. Suddenly, the ship's scanners picked up something, a strange energy signal, hidden inside a cloud of frozen dust and gas. The mechanic took control and flew the ship toward the signal. As they passed through the cloud, a shape appeared, a planet, covered in thick white ice. It didn't show up on normal star charts. It was invisible to normal sensors. The ship landed on a flat, snowy surface. The mechanic wore his old spacesuit and stepped outside. The cold was sharp, but he pushed forward. The dragon walked beside him without any suit. Its scales shimmered in the pale light. They walked through the ice for hours. The dragon seemed to know the path. Finally, they reached a mountain with a strange shape. The dragon moved its claw across the ice wall, and a soft humming sound came from inside. The ice cracked. A hidden door opened slowly. A golden light glowed from inside. They stepped into a huge underground hall. It was warmer there. Walls were covered in ancient symbols and carvings that showed dragon-like creatures flying above stars, guarding something glowing in the middle of a circle of light. The mechanic stared in awe. This is a temple, he said. The dragon nodded slightly. In the center of the hall was a raised platform with a crystal orb floating above it. The orb pulsed like a heartbeat as the mechanic stepped closer. The orb began to shine. Images flashed around them, visions from long ago. He saw a grand empire ruled by dragon beasts like a Z7. Their job was not to conquer, but to protect something sacred, a glowing power, a force that could create or destroy, something they called the source of balance. It was pure energy. It could heal planets, fix broken time, and even bring back life from death. But it was dangerous in the wrong hands, so the archaeal dragons hid it. Only one dragon was given the key to lead the worthy one to the source. The mechanic stepped back, heart beating fast. You're the guardian, he whispered to the dragon. And you brought me here? The dragon's collar unlocked itself. It fell to the floor with a soft clink. The The symbols on the walls started to glow brighter. Then, to his surprise, the dragon lowered its head before him. The mechanic was shocked. "Why are you bowing?" A deep voice echoed not from the dragon's mouth, but from all around him. "Because you did not seek power. You only cared. You listened. You helped. That is why you were chosen." The platform rose higher. The orb floated toward the mechanic. He reached out with shaking hands. As he touched it, light rushed into his mind. He saw stars being born, planets healing, broken cities rebuilt by light. He pulled his hand back, eyes wide. He now held the memory of the source, but it wasn't over. Behind them, a red alarm flashed on his ship. Something had followed them. Hunters, they were not alone anymore. The dragon growled low, its body glowing again, ready to protect. The mechanic looked at the sky through the temple ceiling. "I thought this was the end of the journey," he whispered. The dragon's thoughts echoed in. His head, "No, this is only the beginning." The red light on the ship blinked again. The mechanic ran back to the ship's control screen. It showed multiple red dots approaching fast from the far side of the ice planet. Hunter ships. "More than one," he whispered. The dragon stood at the temple entrance, watching the skies. Its tail swung side to side, and its wings slowly spread open. It knew a battle was coming. But before they could prepare, the golden orb from the center of the temple floated back toward them. Tss. The orb pulsed brightly, then suddenly burst into soft light. Filling the whole room, everything changed. The mechanic's vision turned white. He wasn't standing in the temple anymore. He was inside a memory. He saw a giant city in the sky made of crystal and light. Dozens of white dragons flew over it. Alien beings walked below, peaceful and calm. It was the ancient world of Archael. Then he saw the fall. Dark ships arrived from space. Explosions, fire, screams. The Archael dragons fought back, but they were hunted and taken. Most were killed. Others were locked in chains and used as weapons. He saw a Z7, younger, fighting to save the source. He failed, but he survived, the last of his kind. The memory faded. The mechanic stood back in the temple, breathing heavily. His hands were glowing faintly, just like the orb had. "What did you show me?" he asked, looking at the dragon. The dragon stepped forward and touched his shoulder gently with its claw. For the first time, he felt its emotions clearly: pain, guilt, loneliness, and deep hope. The dragon's thoughts entered his mind again. "Now you carry a part of the source. It lives in your memory. You are bonded to it." The mechanic looked at his hands. "So I have the map now. Inside me?" The dragon nodded. They turned toward the entrance. The sound of ships landing in the snow echoed through the temple. Walls, the hunters had arrived. The mechanic rushed to his ship. He grabbed a small power shield and a laser tool, not real weapons. But it was all he had. Outside, 3 dark hunter ships landed, and strange figures stepped out. They wore black armor, faces hidden behind metal masks. One of them walked forward and spoke with a machine-like voice. "Hand over the creature and the memory core. Now." The mechanic stood between them and the dragon. "No," he said. "You can't have either." The hunter raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the dragon roared. A wave of light burst from its body, pushing the hunters back. The battle began. The mechanic ran to activate the temple's ancient defenses. He remembered the symbols from earlier, pressed his glowing hand against a panel. The floor rumbled. Pillars of crystal rose from the ground. Beams of energy shot toward the hunters, blocking their path. The dragon flew high above them, diving and firing white-blue flames. It moved like lightning, striking with power and grace. One of the hunter ships tried to take off, but the dragon tore off its engine. Mid-dash air, the mechanic was cornered by 2 hunters. Just as one fired, a burst of energy flowed from his hands. Like a shield. It surprised even him. The source inside him had awakened. The hunters ran. 2 of their ships exploded. The last one escaped into the sky. The battle was over. The mechanic sat down, heart pounding, body shaking. The dragon landed beside him and nudged him gently with its snout. "You saved me too," the mechanic whispered. "I couldn't have done it alone." The dragon's eyes glowed softer now. Together they had unlocked not just memories, but power. But now, every hunter, every collector, and every dark empire out there would be looking for them. The dragon looked at the stars again. "We must reach the source before they do." And so, the journey continued. The snow was still falling on the ice planet, but the temple now glowed with power. The mechanic stood near the dragon, watching the stars above with sharp eyes. They knew the hunters would return this time with more ships, more weapons, and more hate. The mechanic had changed. He was no longer just a poor man who fixed ships. The memory of the source lived inside him now. He could feel its energy moving in his hands, in his heart, and even in his thoughts. He didn't know how to control it fully, but he was learning. Dragon, now free from the collar, looked stronger than ever. Its wings were wider, its scales brighter, and its fire more powerful. It wasn't just guarding the mechanic anymore. It was fighting with him. A warning flashed on the ship's screen again. More hunter ships were coming, 7 this time. The mechanic took a deep breath. "They won't stop," he said. "They want the source. They'll destroy anything too." "Get it." The dragon growled deeply and nodded. Outside, the hunters landed with a loud roar. Black ships filled the sky and armored warriors stepped out, armed with plasma rifles and energy swords. Their leader walked forward, taller, stronger, and covered in golden armor. His voice echoed like thunder. "Give us the human and the beast. Surrender the source." The mechanic stepped forward, holding a small, glowing stone taken from the temple. "No," he said calmly. "You're not worthy of it." The leader laughed. "Then die with your pet." The sky exploded with fire. The battle had begun. The dragon flew high and attacked from above, blasting white flames that lit up the sky. The mechanic ran between crystal towers, dodging blasts and using his energy shield. His hands glowed as he activated hidden defenses around the temple. Crystal turrets rose from the ice and fired beams of golden light, one by one. The hunter soldiers fell, but they were many. They kept coming, wave after wave, like shadows in the snow. The mechanic reached the top of the temple, where a control ring pulsed with ancient power. He placed his glowing hand on it. A burst of light shot into the sky. The planet itself began to change. Walls of light formed around the temple, blocking attacks. Energy shields covered the air above them. It was like the temple was waking up. The golden-armored leader flew upward using a jetpack and attacked the dragon midair. A massive blast of energy hit the dragon's wing, and it roared in pain. Mechanic shouted no, but the dragon didn't fall. It turned, spun, and slammed into the leader with full force, sending him crashing into the ice below. The mechanic ran to the dragon as it landed roughly. "You okay?" he asked, touching its side. The dragon's thoughts answered in his mind. Weak, ... but not finished. The hunter leader stood again, broken but alive. He raised a dark cube in his hand and aimed it at the temple. "If I can't have the source, I'll destroy it." The cube began glowing. Countdown appeared in red lights. The mechanic ran and jumped forward, placing his hand on the cube. His own energy flowed into it, trying to stop it. His body shook, his vision blurred, but the source inside him responded. It lit up like a star. With a scream, he forced all the energy into the cube, and it exploded in a flash of golden light. When the light cleared, the leader was gone. The hunter ships were falling back. Turning, retreating, they had lost. The mechanic fell to his knees. The dragon moved beside him and gently wrapped its wing around him. "You did it," the mechanic said. Softly, "We did it." But he knew it wasn't truly over. They had won the battle, but the real journey. The path to the source itself was just ahead. After the battle, the ice planet became quiet again, as the snow fell gently and the broken pieces of hunter ships melted into the ground. The mechanic and the albino dragon stood at the top of the ancient temple. Wind blew across the stone, but now it felt peaceful. The mechanic looked up at the stars. He still couldn't believe what had happened. He was just a poor man who fixed old ships. Now he had fought a war, touched ancient power, and changed the future. The dragon sat beside him, weak but alive. Its eyes were calm now. It's no longer angry, no longer in pain. The mechanic turned to it. "You brought me here for a reason. Is this it? Is this the end?" The dragon slowly shook its head. A soft light glowed in its chest, and its voice echoed. "Inside the mechanic's mind, you have passed the test. But the source is still out there." This was only the gate. The mechanic stood up. "Then where do we go next?" The temple floor began to glow. The map appeared again, this time larger and brighter. It showed a distant star, far beyond any charted system. A place with no name, hidden behind storms and black holes. The final destination. The source. The dragon took a deep breath and slowly rose to its feet. Its wings stretched wide, stronger than before. The light from the temple flowed into its body. Healing its wounds and renewing its strength, it had completed its duty as a guardian. But now, it had something more, a partner. The mechanic packed his ship. He didn't take much. Just a few tools, food packs, and the glowing stone from the temple. He looked around one last time. "This place, will anyone else find it?" he asked. The dragon replied, "It will sleep again, till it is needed once more." As they left the temple, the ice closed behind them. Like the world itself was hiding its secrets again. They took off into the stars. The journey to the final star system was long. Time passed, but neither of them felt bored. The bond between the mechanic and the dragon grew deeper. They didn't need many words. A look, a thought, or a small sound was enough to understand each other. Finally, they reached the edge of space. There it was, a golden gate floating in the middle of blackness, surrounded by broken moons and glowing dust. The gate pulsed slowly, like it was alive. The dragon stopped in front of it. "This is it," the mechanic whispered. The gate didn't open by force or power. It didn't open with fire or battle. It opened with choice. The mechanic stepped forward and placed his hand on the gate. A voice echoed all around. "You are not the strongest. You are not the smartest. But you are kind. You gave trust. You chose peace. This is the key." The gate opened slowly. Behind it, a soft light glowed, a swirling world of golden energy, quiet and warm. The source, pure life. The mechanic turned to the dragon. "We found it." The dragon nodded, its eyes full of emotion. Then something strange happened. The energy of the source didn't just stay in one place, didn't move toward the mechanic. It circled him, entered his chest, and merged with the light already inside him. He had become the true keeper. The source had chosen him. The mechanic looked at his hands. He no longer felt poor. He no longer felt small. He felt full of purpose, of power, of peace. The dragon slowly bowed before him one last time. Their journey had ended, but their story had just begun. Together, they turned away from the gate and flew into the stars, guardians of the greatest secret in the galaxy, not because they wanted power, because they were the only ones who would never use it for war. The end.